Third most common misconceptions regarding Islam among the non-Muslims is that Muslims are terrorists. And especially after 9/11, the 11th of September 2001 attack on the Twin Tower, and after 7/7, the London bombing. It was a common statement that all Muslims are not terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslims, indicating that every terrorist you form is a Muslim. All Muslims will not be terrorists, but every terrorist is a Muslim. And I gave a talk in response to this in 2006. Is terrorism a Muslim monopoly? And that gives more detail, because this is only answering one aspect. But in detail you can refer to my talk on is terrorism a Muslim monopoly on terrorism. And I also given the talk, if you want more information about jihad and terrorism, I have given the talk on jihad and terrorism and Islamic perspective. If you hear both these talks, you will realize the statistics and the truth, and will be able to answer the non-Muslims in a better way. What is the meaning of the word terrorist? A terrorist by definition means a person who causes terror. Simple. If a criminal looks or sees a policeman, he's terrified. So in English language, the policeman is the terrorist for the criminal. And I got this when I was in Bombay. In Times of India, it came on the front page that Inspector Wange, he terrorizes the criminals of Mumbai. So I got this terrorist from there. So, in this context, I tell every Muslim should be a terrorist in this context. Every Muslim should be a terrorist to the antisocial element. Every Muslim should be a terrorist for the rapist, to the thief, to the robber. But I'm aware that terrorist normally means, generally, to terrorize an innocent human being. In this context, no Muslim should ever be a terrorist. We Muslims should only terrorize the antisocial element, the rapist, the robber, those who create fasad. And the Quran says that in Surah Anfal, chapter number 8, verse number 60, prepare your steed of horse and terrorize the hearts of the antisocial element. So when I became popular in UK, and when the Labour Party lost and the Conservative came to power in 2010. 2009 was the last time I visited UK to give a talk. I've been to UK several times. So in 2010 I was supposed to give many talks in Wembley Arena and various places, all packed full. So before I land, because I had a 5-year visa, so I didn't have to take a new visa. But before I could land into UK, when the Labour Party lost and the Conservative came, Theresa May was the Home Secretary. She says, who is the most famous Muslim preacher in UK? So she asked the Home Office, and the reply came, Dr. Zakir Naik. And they said, Zakir Naik is supposed to come after a couple of weeks. Don't allow him. I said, what basis can we stop you? All day we issued him a visa. 5 years multiple visa already issued. She told the counter-terrorism department that try and find something wrong in his speech in which he's broken the UK law, so we can exclude him. We can prevent him from coming. They scanned all my videos, they could not find anything. Nothing. In fact, in 2009, the head of the counter-terrorism department, Charles Farr, he sent a person to meet me, and he told me, you know, Dr. Zakir Naik, this was when the Labour Party was in, when the Labour Party was ruling. Dr. Zakir, we know you're very popular amongst the Muslims. Can you help us to guide some Muslims who have gone astray? I said, I have no problem. I'm there to help humanity. I don't mind helping you under two conditions. That you should not ask me to do anything which is against the glorious Quran or the authentic hadith of the Prophet, and I don't want your money, because UK has a big budget to buy Muslims. They pay money and they buy you over, and they make you think which are against Islam. So I knew about it. I said, as long as you don't ask me to do anything against Quran and Sunnah, I have no problem, I can help you. I don't require money also, so don't try and attract me. And we were in coordination. But after about 7-8 months, when the government changes, now Theresa May, who at that time was the Home Secretary, later on becomes the Prime Minister, she wants to exclude me. Then she sends the people from UK counter-terrorism department to meet CIA outside. Check with them whether you can get some proof against Dr. Zakir Naik. MashaAllah, I am on the list of CIA, FBI, UK department. Alhamdulillah. I am on the list of those people, inshallah, who will not go to Jannah. You will not find them in Jannah. If you don't follow Quran, you will meet them in Jahannam. So they said, we don't have any proof. Yet exclude. They said, if you exclude Dr. Zakir Naik, if he goes to court, we will lose. I will handle the court. So in 2010, they exclude me. I was supposed to go for a lecture tour. And why I'm telling you this, I'll tell you. They exclude me. And before I could leave my country, they sent an official letter through the High Commission to the UK to tell me that I'm excluded for 3 years. And they give the reason. One of the reasons is, Dr. Zakir Naik says, every Muslim should be a terrorist. So I'm giving you the context. What they do, they quote out of, they didn't give the full sentence. Dr. Zakir Naik says, you cannot terrorize any innocent human being. Oh, Dr. Zakir Naik says, every Muslim should be a terrorist. So he's promoting terrorism. So mashallah, we hire the best of lawyers, one of my fans. And my lawyers told me, Dr. Zakir Naik, 99.9% you win the case. They have no evidence. My friend who funded, who paid £1 million, £1 million. We fought the case to the Supreme Court, to the Court of Appeal, and then went to the European Court. He told 95% will lose. This government, they are not just. But yet we'll show them. I was the only Muslim who went to the Supreme Court up to Hague, the European Court of Justice. We did the case, and my friend was right. We lost the case, but we won the battle. Our MessageTv continued. They did not go ahead. So the strategy. So coming back to the question, one of the reasons they excluded me is I cannot enter. They didn't ban me. Ban in UK means my lecture cannot be telecast, my video cassette cannot be sold, my book cannot be. Excluded means I am not congenial to society of UK. So I'm not allowed to enter, but my video cassettes can be sold, books can be sold, my programs can be seen. So they excluded me. And 10 years later, in 2019, before that, what does Allah do? Later on, Theresa May becomes the Home Secretary, she becomes the Prime Minister. Because there's so much infighting in the party, that she is the black sheep, she becomes the Prime Minister. And when she becomes the Prime Minister, there is so much of problem in the government, she has to resign and she cries in front of the public. So Allah humiliated her. Yamkuru yamkurallahu wallahu khairul makirin. They planned and plotted, Allah to plan. And what happens? In 2019, 10 years later, Priti Patel is a UK national of Indian origin. She becomes the Home Secretary. Now she's in place of Theresa May. When she becomes Home Secretary in July 2019, within a short span of time, she gives the statement, we will terrorize all the criminals of UK. So now she becomes a terrorist. The Home Secretary of UK is now a terrorist. Good or bad? If she's terrorizing the criminals, it is good. So when I say Muslims should terrorize the criminals, I become a terrorist. When she says she is Home Secretary, she's being praised. Very good, very good. Double standard. So Allah makes it happen. She uses, maybe she saw my video cassette, because she's of Indian origin, Hindu, Priti Patel. Indian origin, UK national, become the Home Secretary. Maybe she saw my video, very good. So she gives a statement which comes headlines in the UK place, in the UK papers, that we will terrorize the criminals of UK. That means she wants to terrorize. She's become the terrorist now. These are double standards. Now, many a times, two different labels are given for the same activity of the same individual. Two different labels. For example, before India got its freedom, more than 75 years back, there were many Indians who were fighting for the freedom of the country. Now, these people, by the British government, they were called as terrorists. But the common Indians, we call these people as freedom fighters. We call them as patriots. Same people, same activity, two different labels. Some people are calling them terrorists, some people are calling them as patriots, freedom fighters. Same people, same activity. If you agree with the view of the British government that they had the right to rule over India, then you'll call these people as terrorists. But if you agree with the view of the common Indians that the Britishers came to India to do business, they have no right to rule over us, then you'll call these people as freedom fighters. And one of the famous freedom fighters, Bhagat Singh, the British government called him a terrorist and hanged him. We common Indians, we called him Deshbhakt, a patriot, a freedom fighter. Same person, same activity, two different labels. Some people are calling him hero, the Britishers are calling him a villain. Therefore, I told you, media can convert black into white, day into night, hero into a villain, villain into a hero. Same people, same actor, two different labels, and you have umpteen number of examples. We know in 1775, when the Americans were fighting for the freedom against the Britishers were ruling USA, before USA was formed, was ruling over America. And there were many Americans who were fighting for the freedom. In 1775, George Washington, at that time, by the British government, he was called as terrorist number one in the world. Later on, when Americans get their freedom and they make USA, United States of America, the same terrorist number one, George Washington, becomes the president of USA. Imagine, terrorist number one becomes the president of USA. One country is calling him a terrorist, the other country is calling him freedom fighter. And both of them then get together, now they are terrorizing the full world, UK and America put together. And they say that we have the maximum human rights, we fight for human values. This is nothing but a show. They attack countries which are less equipped for money, and they're saying we are going there for peace. War for peace. They are war on peace. Attacking Afghanistan, one of the least equipped countries in the world. For 20 years, what does Allah do? Turns the table. After spending trillions of dollars, they had to retreat. They were a mujahideen, the real jihad, the Talibans. They trained them. They spend millions of dollars in training them against a proxy war against Russia. But then when they go to take over Afghanistan, they don't allow them. Who are you? They don't allow them. And 20 years they fight. Taliban, which are least equipped, Allah helps them. They had to flee the country after spending trillions of dollars. We have the examples in South Africa. Nelson Mandela. The previous white apartheid government, which ruled South Africa, they had imprisoned Nelson Mandela for 25 years, for more than 25 years in Robben Islands. And they called him terrorist number one. The white apartheid government, who preached that white people are superior to the other races, they imprisoned Nelson Mandela for more than 25 years. because he was fighting for the freedom of the black people, for the freedom of the people of South Africa. Later on, when the white apartheid government has to retrieve, Nelson Mandela is released from Robben Islands. He comes back, he stands in an election, he becomes the president of South Africa. Later on, he gets the Nobel Prize for Peace. Terrorist number one gets the Nobel Prize for Peace. Not that Nelson Mandela was a bad man, terrorist, then he became a good man. For the same activity for which the South African white apartheid government called him a terrorist, he gets the Nobel Prize for same activity. After he gets his freedom, after he's elected president of South Africa, the committee of Nobel Prize, they award him the Nobel Prize for Peace. Same activity. It's an irony. For the same activity, when he was called the terrorist number one in the world, for the same activity he gets the Nobel Prize for Peace. And you have several such examples. You have many presidents of Israel who terrorized and killed thousands of people, then they get the Nobel Prize for Peace. Menachem Begin killed thousands of people, was a terrorist, head of a terrorist organization. Terrorist number one. Later on, when he becomes the president of Israel, he gets the Nobel Prize for Peace. What is this? So what we come to know, that whoever is in power, whoever controls the media, whatever label they give, it gets stuck. Whoever is in power, whoever's power, whoever controls the media, whatever label, right or wrong, gets stuck. So that is the reason Quran says in Surah Hujurat, chapter number 49, verse number 6, whenever you get information, you check it up before you pass it on to the third person. Don't just rely on, don't just whatever you get forward. You see any news, forward it. Check it up. If you're not sure, don't forward it. And we Muslims also, most of our party, you see anything? It may be a fake video. It may be a fabrication. Today, to make a fake video is very easy, AI. So Allah is telling 1400 years ago, whenever a fasik gives you information, whenever a transgressor gives you information, check it up before you pass it on to someone else, lest you may be involved in spreading the wrong message. Today, you get something, you forward it without checking. Have you checked right or wrong? So you are becoming a tool of the Satan. You like it, you forward it. Have you checked it? If you get something, if you can't verify, don't spread it.